Tonight we're going to talk about Ohio real estate license laws. This is the final chapter of the textbook, and maybe this should be the beginning chapter, because we're going to talk about what it is to become actually licensed and who are the people that govern the licensing laws. All states, District of Columbia, and all Canadian provinces regulate the activities of real estate brokers and salespeople. Real estate is the biggest investment most consumers will make, so consumerism at its best has said that our licensed agents need to be regulated. We need to watch how they do their business, make sure they're trained properly, because people are putting a lot of trust in them to help advise them on the real estate transaction. So in the United States, certain details of laws vary from state to state, but main provision of many state laws are very similar. So what we find in the real estate law textbook that we teach from here at Cincinnati State, it's not an Ohio law book, but it is real estate license laws in general with some Ohio paraphrasing. The real estate principles textbook is all about Ohio, and so this is going to talk about specifically Ohio. There will be pieces of this on your license exam, so you do need to understand about how the commission is formed and who's there, what they do. So in addition, uniform policies and standards in the field of license law administration and enforcement are promoted by an organization of state license law officials known as ARELO, the Association of Real Estate License Laws. So we have people from Ohio that get together with people from all over the United States and Canada, and they have this ARELO organization. So a lot of the license laws and the way licensing and real estate activities are done from state to state is very similar, just small differences. But overall, the real estate policies and how real estate does perform in the United States and Canada is very similar. The purpose of our license laws is protect public interest. Who has to be licensed? Anybody that lists it for sale, sells it, rents or leases it, manages it, exchanges it, negotiates with anybody that's purchasing, leasing, or acquiring an interest in real estate, deals in real estate options, offers to perform any one of these activities, or represent that you engage in any of these activities, the state wants to see you licensed. Now, you don't have to be licensed if you're selling for yourself. Anytime you're dealing in your own properties, you're buying, managing, selling your own property, you do not have to be licensed. If you work directly for the owner of property as their employee, you do not have to be licensed. But the moment you step out and start acting as a third-party fiduciary, that's when they want you to be licensed. The real estate license laws have been in effect since 1927, so it's been around longer than you think. They create licensing prerequisites, post-licensing educational requirements. There's complaint procedures governing the profession, so if somebody wants to say, hey, you're doing it wrong, how do you go about doing that? And the license law also covers anybody that's doing auctioning for business. A real estate auctioneer has to be licensed. The Ohio Department of Commerce controls our licensing. There is a real estate and professional licensing division. So anything you want to learn about getting a license, becoming licensed, researching a licensee, you're going to go to the Ohio Department of Commerce, to Real Estate Licensing Division, look it up online, and you'll be able to find out an awful lot of information. It's also where you'll find all of your forms for being licensed, continuing education forms, and things like that. The website provides direct access to the Ohio Real Estate License Law and also the Ohio Administrative Code. It defines what is a real estate broker, what's a real estate salesperson. There is a difference between the two. Even though a lot of commercial agents are called real estate brokers, most of them are salespeople. What's a foreign real estate dealer and salesperson? This is somebody who's not licensed in your state but coming to your state to do business. Typically, they need to start working with an Ohio licensed broker so that they can close their transactions in Ohio. There is a license required, how in the definitions, and when real estate is sold at auction. Exemptions. Again, anything owner acquired for their own account. If you act as a receiver or trustee, when I was the trust real estate manager for the bank here many years ago, I was an employee of the bank. I wasn't licensed and didn't have to be licensed to do that work. Yes, I had a license, but it was outside the bank. As a public officer while performing duties, as an attorney at law. Attorneys do not have to be licensed agents. Very often they're doing the contracts, they're participating in the real estate transaction. The attorney's goal isn't to bring buyers and sellers together, which is what a real estate salesperson does, but as attorney-at-law do not have to be licensed to carry on and do their business here. Person who engages in brokerage or sale of business assets is not licensed selling real estate, but it's the business asset. I have several tenants that are selling their businesses. They use business brokers to help them sell their businesses. Leases are part of the business, and the business brokers help get involved in getting the leases assigned, but those business brokers are not making commissions off those deals. Therefore, they don't have to be licensed because they're not actually selling real estate. A person who engages in sales of manufactured homes. Mobile homes do not require somebody to have a real estate license. A manufactured home that's built in a manufactured environment and erected on site, that's different than what we're talking about mobile homes. A person who engages in the sale of commercial real estate pursuant to Section 4735.022 of the Ohio Revised Code does not have to be licensed. However, that out-of-state broker has to work with an Ohio broker. So there is an Ohio broker involved in those transactions. Very often when I was a commercial agent and I was working in other parts of the country, I would simply work with agents from that part of the country, from Arizona, from California, or whatever, to make sure that we had somebody licensed in the state doing the transaction. And then they would split fees with me. So it was all legal and above board. The Ohio Real Estate Commission, this is something you need to know for your test, is made up of 5 members. They're appointed to 5-year terms. They're appointed by the governor with advice and consent of the Senate. 4 members have to be engaged as licensed real estate brokers in Ohio for 10 years immediately preceding their appointment. So we want people who are experienced, not just salespeople, but they're brokers. So they've gone on to be licensed brokers and they have a full knowledge of what's going on with the business. 1 member represents the public. And no more than 3 members are from one political party. The Ohio Division of Real Estate. They investigate complaints of licensing or regulatory violations, and they can apply for court injunctions to stop violations and subpoena witnesses. The commission promotes the canon of ethics. They review decisions of the superintendent. They audit education and research and recovery funds. They review education requirements. They inform licensees regarding changes in the state and federal fair housing law in relevant cases. So they actually create law classes, or they promote these classes for fair housing to teach people what is current, what's going on. They want to disseminate information relative to commission activities and decisions. And they publish and furnish information on housing and remedies available to dissatisfied clients. But the commission also is promoting real estate in the positive view. They do have road shows that go around and offer real estate classes for housing and for law updates to make sure people are current and understand what's going on. They're all about being positive and promoting the industry. The superintendent of real estate, they can investigate complaints. They audit records of brokers and salespeople. So they tell you you have to keep your records for 7 years. They mean it. If you're using something like .loop today, all of your records are kept in an electronic file where they're well maintained and there's a process to go through. But if you're not using a .loop type system, you need to have files and retain those files for so many years to satisfy these audit requirements. The superintendent can subpoena witnesses and complaints. They can administer issuance of license. They can approve or disapprove a broker's business name. Who knew? You know, when you want to pick your name, you got to run it by the superintendent of real estate. They are the caretaker of records, and they also can request criminal record checks of the applicants. Somebody asked a question about if you're a drunk driver, can you be licensed? Sure. The records that they're looking for, criminal records, is anything that you're doing that's a fiduciary duty. If you violated that anywhere in your history, then you're going to be in violation of the Ohio Real Estate License Law. They don't want you to be a licensee because what we're doing is fiduciary in trust to our clients. There's a complaint procedure. Anyone can file a complaint. Anyone can file a lawsuit. Anyone can file a complaint. But the idea here is they want the complaint to be heard through the Commission of Real Estate. Within 5 business days, an acknowledgement of the complaint and notice is sent to the licensee. Within 10 days, the complainant and licensee file a request for a mediation meeting on a form provided by the superintendent. And within 20 days thereafter, they have their hearing. So the idea is, again, they want to keep this out of courts. They want to do it quickly while the cases are relevant, while everybody's available, and they want to make satisfaction so you don't go to court. The idea is to keep it out of the courts. They can sanction licensee for violations. So the sanctions can be, they can revoke the license, they can suspend a license, they can impose a fine, they can issue a public reprimand. Years ago, we used to get a little newsletter that had everything in it, that the activities, why licenses were revoked or suspended or fined, and the first thing you want to do is go look at that. So by having that public information of the real estate industry, we knew what our peers were doing, what they were getting in trouble for doing, but you remembered what they were doing and you learned from that, but it's also not something you wanted to be on that receiving end of that. They can require the completion of additional continuing education and coursework. So you got a problem as a licensee, they can make you take certain classes to try to get you to reform, to learn what you're doing right. The application for a broker's license, there's character requirements, experiential requirements, minimum of 2 years, at least 2 of the 5 years, an average of 30 hours a week as a salesperson. You have to have 20 real estate transactions or the equivalent. And equivalent might be 3 leases for every sale transaction. When I got my broker's license years ago, I was doing the leasing for an office building. I had to have over 75 leases to be able to prove that I had that 20 sale equivalent. You have education requirements, 40 hours of P&P and law, 20 hours of appraisal, and 20 hours of finance. Then you have 3/4 hours of financial management, human resource management, applied business econ, and business law. And then you also have a minimum of 2 years of college. So Cincinnati State offering an associate degree is a way to meet the broker license requirement for that 2 years of college. Also, Hondros Academy and some of those other places that are for-profit college places to take classes are now offering and been accredited as college so that they can continue to offer and be competitive this, quote, 2 years of college. As a salesperson, this is what most of you are looking to do. And all of these forms are in the back of the textbook in chapter 23. You'll see these. The salesperson needs to be honest, truthful, good reputation. They have to be not convicted of a felony or crime, not violated the rules or regulations by the Ohio Real Estate Commission, at least 18 years of age, have a high school diploma or equivalent. So this is why a lot of people start in this business. You can do it with a minimal amount of education requirements, and you can start out right away selling just after you're 18 and you take the test. The education requirements, in order to take the test, you have to have 20 hours of P&P and law, 40 hours of each, 20 hours of appraisal, and 20 hours of finance. All of these classes are offered here at Cincinnati State. And then post-licensing requirements, within 1 year, you have to do 10 hours of classroom instruction. And that's all spelled out by the state commission. Continuing education